So you've listed your house for sale, now what? In this video, I'm gonna tell you what you can expect as a seller throughout the sales process. I'm Kat Berry with the Modern Living team at Compass Chicago. I'm a top producing realtor, and I'm gonna share with you my tips on the sales process of selling your property. So you and your real estate professional have worked so hard to get your house ready to market, now what? The process of selling your house can be stressful and lengthy. My job as a real estate professional and my number one goal is to make the process as least stressful as possible. And I do that by preparing my sellers upfront with what they can expect. The first thing you need to do when your house goes on the market is strategize with your agent about that launching process. How are you going to make it hit the market? At Compass, we use tools like our private exclusives, which are old-fashioned pocket listings, so we can get the word out to only Compass agents while we're getting your house ready. Then we put it on a coming soon, a Compass coming soon. So we can advertise to all of our local real estate experts as well as our sphere of influence. During this time frame, we also start to put the property on social media to create a buzz. This is sort of like a preview for a coming film or a new show that you want to watch. It gets people excited about your listing, and it makes sure that when we have that first open house or first showing, people already know about it and we can get the most people through the door as possible. Again, showing your house is stressful and it's a pain. So we want to make sure that we're showing it the least amount of times possible to get the highest and best buyer. Once we've strategized and we've come up with the plan to launch your listing, we need to get ready for the first open house if your property or your community allows it. We don't always do open houses in certain high rises, but if we can do an open house, you really want to make sure you hide all of your valuables, including medications, liquor, and any firearms or weapons. Please also put your knives away. As a real estate professional, sometimes we're alone in the house with people that we don't know, and it always is really important for us to feel safe. The other thing you need to prepare for is your day-to-day showings. What we really try to do is have showings at certain time blocks on specific days, but buyers' schedules are hard to coordinate, and we want to get buyers in the door when they're available. We try to come up with a time frame in advance that works for you. Do you need 12 hours notice or 24 hours notice for a showing? Because you have to make your house look like the Instagram version of your life. You want to make it look like you basically don't live there. So this includes getting rid of laundry, dirty towels, put out your staging towels. And this one is really important. Make sure you take all of your pet items out of the house. It's really easy for pet beds to carry a pet smell, and for your pets, we love pets, we love animals, but you never know who is coming through your door, and you want to make sure that your dog or your cat doesn't scare that person, and also that it doesn't smell like your furry friend. So once we've got the showings underway and we're marketing the property, the time it takes to go from listing your property to getting an offer varies widely based on your property, the market, the neighborhood, all kinds of things, and including what time of year it is. So I can't give you solid specifics about how long that process can take. It just varies so much, but that's what your local real estate expert can advise you on. During the time you're on the market, your real estate agent should be in constant contact with you. We send either weekly or bi-weekly reports to all of our listing clients, letting them know how many people viewed their listing online this week, how long they spent on the listing, and where they're coming from. This information is really important because if I can see that somebody is only spending 5 seconds on a listing, I know right away that they are not liking what they see for the price, and maybe I need to rearrange the photos or put up a different front photo of the property. So I take a look at that data regularly, as should you. Another thing that you should be hearing from your agent regularly is feedback on showings. Now, I will say this is one of the biggest points of frustration for both sellers and listing agents, because we all go through so much work to get your house ready to show, and then we show it and we don't hear anything from the buyer's agent or the buyer. Now, our system is set up to automatically send feedback requests to agents. I also personally always follow up with every agent that shows a listing of mine, but they don't respond to us. So this is probably not your agent's fault if you're not hearing solid feedback. It is just something that some buyers agents do not believe in providing. So I can tell you this, when it comes to real estate, unfortunately, no news is typically not good news. And if you haven't heard anything following a showing, they're probably not interested. Why I like getting feedback though, even if I know they're not interested, is I like to know why, because I'm always trying to figure out what we can do to get your property sold. Constant communication and letting our clients know what we're doing to get their property sold is a very important part of our process. The other thing that we're doing throughout the listing period is marketing the property on our social media channels to our sphere of influence through neighborhood and geographic postcards and through some other tools that we have in Compass, which allows us to do reverse prospecting. This allows me to search for every agent that has a search set up matching your property's criteria, so I can be sure that they know about your property and I'm getting them through the door. Now, once we've shown the property and we have a ready, willing, and able buyer that's written a strong contract, or maybe we have multiple offers. This does still happen in certain types of properties. We're getting multiple offers depending on what it is and where it is. So how do you choose the right one and how do you negotiate? This is the next step, and it's really important that you weigh all of the terms of the offer. Everybody always loves to see a good price, but a price is only one term of your offer. For example, maybe for you, it's really important that you're able to stay in your house for 2 more months. So the closing date would be very important. And now we also have to make sure that we're looking out for what the buyer's agent is asking you to pay them for compensation. That is also a term of the offer here in Illinois in the Chicago real estate market. So make sure that you and your agent sit down and weigh the pros and cons of every offer that you have so that you can negotiate strategically for the best price and terms that work for you and your individual situation. Now, it's also really important when you're negotiating to understand the buyer's point of view. And this is where your agent comes in. And they communicate with the seller's agent to find out whatever they can about why that buyer offered that price, why they asked for that specific closing date, and are they tied to this internet lender, or maybe they can talk to someone local so that it's a more solid deal. These are all very important aspects of the contract that you work out with your real estate agent and that they negotiate for you on your behalf. Once you've accepted an offer, now it's time for the home inspection. And it's also important that you prepare for that properly. So you want to make sure that the buyer has every opportunity to view all of the mechanical components of the home. This is when I always tell people, make sure you clean out under your sinks, because they will need to get under the sinks. You want to have your electrical panel accessible, and you want to make sure there is nothing blocking your furnace or your boiler. People in Chicago apartments love to cram all kinds of stuff around their furnace and their hot water heater. Do not do that. That's very dangerous. For one thing, these are flammable, combustible components of your house. But the other thing is that these types of things make buyers really nervous, and you never want an inspector to say, I wasn't able to inspect that area, because then the buyer is going to ask you for a credit, or they're going to want to bring another expert back in the house, and that is just going to cost you more time, money, and stress. So those are the things we're trying to avoid before the home inspection. And a buyer always thinks a repair is going to cost more than it is. So we really want to make sure everything is tip-top prior to the home inspection. Once we're through the home inspection, here in Illinois, we have a attorney review process where a real estate attorney goes through the contract and negotiates on your behalf. And it's very important in Cook County, especially because we have our real estate taxes that are paid in arrears. So you'll be paying for your portion of the next tax bill. You'll actually be giving the buyer a credit. So the real estate attorneys help to negotiate that for you, as well as working with us, the real estate professionals, to work out the inspection items. So that attorney review process runs along with the inspection process. And once that is complete, we are in really good shape, and the buyer is typically going to pay a larger earnest money deposit once they're through that period of time. And then we have the appraisal if the buyer is getting a mortgage. To me, as a listing agent, this is the time for me to drive home the deal for you and to make sure that we get that price that the buyer agreed to. How do I accomplish that without trying to influence the appraiser too much? I come to meet the appraiser with a full report about how we arrived at the price, so they know we didn't just make it up. We used actual sales data to arrive at this price. We weigh your features of your property against features of other properties in the building or in the neighborhood to show the value. I also present current market data, and they also like to know, did you get multiple offers? Were there people competing for this property? This part of the process is very important because if the appraisal comes in low, it is extremely stressful for a seller, and the buyer does have the ability to renegotiate the price with you depending on what we worked out in attorney review. After the appraisal's done, the loan gets cleared, and we are home free. It's time to schedule your movers, get rid of the staging furniture, and get the utilities transferred for the date and time of closing. We work with the a real estate attorney to make sure that your mortgage is paid off if you have one, and to schedule all those final details for the closing. And then you're done. Your property is sold and the money is in your account. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have questions, please reach out, and don't forget to like, comment, and follow for more tips on buying and selling real estate.